Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Testing. Hey, is this thing on? Testing. Testing 1 2 3. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and post a little something here. Okay. All right. YouTube Studio. All right. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. What up, guys? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Testing, testing. 1 2 3. Oh, we have chats. Hello, Mongo. Hello, Generation. All right. Share channel. Copy. All right. Yo, what up, guys? I gotta send a quick ping out. Make sure everybody knows where to go. All right, so that's that. All right, awesome, awesome. I also need to get something new on the screen here for this as well. You guys get a sneak peek at my next video. You guys get a sneak peek of what I use to make these layouts. All right, transparent. All right. All right, so let's go back to this. Pull this up, add image. Okay, browse, download. I'm gonna record all these too for you guys too. Let's pull this up real fast. All right. Let's look, we're gonna look at every single game here. Every single game we're gonna review. Make sure this is all squared away. I'm gonna hide this real quick. Where is it? That's bracket. Where are you hiding? Is that you? No, it's live bracket. Is this you? There we go. All right. All right. So let's slide this up. All right, 8 people watching. What is up, guys? Welcome to the YouTube live. Those of you coming from Twitch, and if y'all are joining us, we just played a chess tournament on Twitch. Beautiful. Who's in here right now? Everybody say hi. Everybody say hi. All right, and we're gonna review all these games on this screen here. So you're gonna have the eval bar. The eval bar will be on screen, and yeah, the eval bar will be on screen. The time will be on screen. We're just gonna have the bracket on screen so we can go down the line. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull up all these games real quick. So first up we have Phoenix. Phoenix played against Exploding Chess in game 1. Pull up the game review. All right, and then next on the list it was Katie. Where are you at, Katie? All right, let's go ahead and pull all these up. Katie defeated you in this one. Go to game review, pull this over here, and then next up it was chess leveling in LG. pull up LG. That was a crazy first game there by LG too. All right, game review. Pull that up. All right. All right, so we got that. Now we got to pull up Supra and Generation. Supra and Generation. There you are, Supra. There you are. Supra out here. He played some games immediately after that. He had to blow off some steam. All right, and then after this we have... Okay, so after this it's LG and her. And pull this game up. Okay, so game review. LG, you had a brilliant move in that game, and you could probably guess what exactly it was. You're insane, bruh. Crazy, crazy move there. Alright, so we got that, and now we're going to pull up... I need to find Phoenix. Where's Phoenix? Phoenix, why are you hiding from me? Where are you? Tola, Rain... There you are. Alright, and we're going to pull up this game. Wait, so that's the final game. Ooh, and then, okay. And then this was the first game that ended in a draw. And this is the bullet tiebreaker. Alright, beautiful. Cool. Make sure I got all these games in a row here now. Crazy stuff. Insane tournament. You guys played impeccable in that. You guys both played an 80%. Jeez. Alright. So this is the 2-minute bullet game. Alright, so this is game 1, game 2, game 3, game 4, and I'm going to alternate between white and black. Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to review the game from the opposite player's perspective where I was viewing their color, if that makes sense on the stream, on the Purple app stream. Alright, so let's close this. Alright, so game 1, game 2, game 3, game 4. Katie and Phoenix were in this one, and they went to a 2-minute bullet tiebreaker, so they come over here. And then this is the championship game. And this is LG. And that. All right, awesome. All right, one last time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because we had an extra game because it was a tiebreaker. LG here and Generation over here. Beautiful! Sweet. What's up, Exploring Chess? What's good? All right, let me make sure you guys can all see this properly. Oh my word, I have 1,000 pings. Yo, you're not... Heard. All right, hang on 1 second, guys. All right. So we currently have 8 people in here right now, right? Awesome. What is up, everybody? All right, who's here that played in the chess tournament? You guys let me know right now. Who's here that played in the chess tournament? Who's here that played in the chess tournament? Who is all here right now? Alright, awesome. Sweet. LG's here. Yeah, we're all good now. Thanks for checking. Alright. Beautiful. All right, guys, everybody stay right here. I need to go to the bathroom really fast. I will be right back. I'm so sorry. I have to use the John again real quick. So BRB. Everybody that's in here too, just start spamming emojis. I need to know who's all in here. When I get back, I want to see like 1,000 emojis. Oh, I just knocked my pillow off my chair. No. Get back on there. All right, everybody stay right there. Start spamming emojis. I know who's in here. All right, good job. I see lots of emojis from Phoenix. I see one from Exploring Chess. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. All right, guys. And Phoenix and Exploring Chess are in here right now, right? Phoenix and Exploring Chess are in here? Phoenix and Exploring Chess. I need to see another emoji before I turn this on. Awesome. All right, hang on. I have one more bite. Or two more bites. Two more bites. So now I'll start the review. Phoenix, are you in here? Where's Phoenix? I'm about to turn the live on here. You're dang right, bro. Exploring Chess has lost to the tournament champion every time. Dude, so Exploring Chess, you're actually a very good player, bro. You've lost to the champion twice. Give yourself a pat on the back, bro. You actually didn't even play that bad. Oh, also, one more thing too, guys. I'm going to pull up the game review of the game. Like, it's going to tell you what your accuracy was and what elo you played as. I'm going to add that here really quick. One second. But I'm not going to keep this on for the entire game so we can all have an educational experience and get better. Look at this little bozo here. Whoa. Hang on. There we go. Look, Martin says you had a nice tactical find in that game, Phoenix. Cute. I want LG to be on here because I want to see him. I want him to see his brilliant move and my reaction to it. All right, so let's go like that. Come on. Oh my gosh! Stop it! All right, so we'll go like that. All right, I'm gonna go like this. And we're gonna keep this on the screen. And every time I start a review, I'll pull this up and just show you guys real quick what it looks like. So So let's go ahead and turn. Wait, hang on. And I'm going to start doing these for all the tournaments too, because this is good for all parties involved. We're all getting better, and we're all going to get better. We're all getting better, and we're going to all win our own full stripe chess tournament. It's going to happen to everybody. All right. All right. And if people aren't in the stream too, this is going to be recorded and put on YouTube automatically. So you guys are all in the clear on that. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on this recording now. Let's do this. All right, so we are going to be reviewing every single tournament game that we played here today. We played 8 games in total here. Yes, I know there are 7 spots on the bracket for games, but we had a tiebreaker in one of our matches, and it was actually pretty freaking crazy. So we're going to go ahead and get right into the reviews here. So I always am going to be pulling up this right here to show the players exactly what their chess.com accuracy was. In this case, Exploring Chess has 78.7% accurate game, and Phoenix had an 89% accurate game. Phoenix played an opening that he is very, very familiar with, which is going to be found out here shortly. But he played very stellarly, and he played like a 1550, and his opponent, Exploring Chess, played like a 1300. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pull this off the screen here, and let's get right into what happened in this one. So we watched from White's perspective in this game. So we're going to be watching from Phoenix's perspective. We're going to alternate the views here. So in this game, Exploring Chess opened the game up with e4. And Phoenix responded with the best opening in chess, and it is not even close. c6, the Caro-Kann defense. And White does a good job of developing the knight here, and now the pawn now pushes. And you can either take this pawn, you can perhaps push here maybe, and you can also probably play, actually you can't play there anymore because then the pawn would just put, yeah, but anyways, 9 times out of 10 they'd probably take here. If they take here, you always take back. Oh, but the knight can go there actually. Surprise, surprise. Bishop now moves forward here to g4. Nicely done. What happens here? Full Stripe is learning here today. What happens with this move? 92? Oh, okay. All right, we're all learning here today, guys. We're all learning here, all right? All right, so bishop g4. The pawn now strikes. Very good opening prep here from both of these players. We get d4 on the board, and we get e6. Now we get bishop f4. Bring the bishop out, and honestly, I love that move. You get the bishop out, developed off the starting square, and you're taking over a bunch of squares here. Nicely done. So after this, we get bishop d6. Good job by Phoenix. Get the bishop off to your starting square, and in an attempt to try and get these bishops traded off the board. So we get e5 played here next. Well done from Exploring Chess. Close down the position. Best move on the board. The bishop is now forced to move either here, here, or here. Probably don't want to go there. And Phoenix vouches to slide the bishop back to e7. And after this, we get bishop d3. Good job from Exploring Chess. Now he has a chance to castle. And then we get c5 played here. And then we get bishop b5 check. Knight c6 is immediately played after this. Then we get castles. C takes on d4. Queen takes back on d4. Bishop takes. Pawn takes. a6. And to the naked eye, it would appear that White is really, really bad right here. Yes, the file is completely and utterly open, but Black cannot castle on their queen side. Otherwise, the king would be very, very exposed, because when you do castle, the king's going to come over here. So ideally, Black would have to castle this way, right? So just something to keep in mind there, because like 9 times out of 10, when you move, like let's say you got your knight here. Let's say the bishop wasn't here. You got your knight here. Ideally, you probably would try to maybe like move the rook over here, eventually push this pawn, and you can only go here, and essentially try and like free up this file to get the rook into the game. But that is in most instances, not all instances, but just an example for you. So after a6, we see bishop takes on c6, a great move played by Exploring Chess. Phoenix only has one move here, which is take back with the pawn. Nicely done. And then we get a3. And apparently the better move here would have been to play knight e2, but honestly, like, I see the vision. You're just trying to essentially get the bishop, stop the bishop from getting here, and you also used a little bit of time on that move, so you're kind of just trying to play a winning move here, so I understand that. We get bishop g5 next in an attempt to get this bishop off the board. And we see we see bishop g3, 97. And then we get b4 and castles. And Phoenix is in the driver's seat as it currently stands. He's plus 1.2 on the eval bar in this spot. White's best move here now is to go queen d3, or excuse me, queen d3. You can also go knight e2 now, and you can also play queen g4. Queen g4. Try and get some pressure coming down here. That just to slide the king over to h1 instead. I honestly don't mind it. I don't mind it. You try to get the rooks over here, so that makes sense to me. Knight now moves forward to f5, and then we get queen g4, sliding the queen over. Best move on the board there for exploring chess, but Phoenix is currently in the advantage as it currently stands. We see bishop h4 next, followed by bishop takes on h4. And it looks to me, so with this move, it looks like Phoenix is honestly trying to get his knight over here to try and grab this pawn. And honestly, that makes sense. So he takes with the queen, get some pieces off the board. And you're also preventing this king from escaping here too, so that's important there too. But exploring chess, a very solid player, finds the move and pushes the pawn forward to the only move that actually saves that pawn there, because you can't get the knight over here to defend that. So after this happens, we get knight g6, sliding the knight back to now attack in an effort to try and attack that pawn again. And white now plays rook g1. And this is a rough move because you needed to move the knight over here to defend this pawn. I know you were low on time, so I completely understand why you could have missed this very, very fast. But just an important note there for you. Keep that in mind. This move right here lost the game on the spot. You need to defend that pawn. Phoenix does an excellent job spotting the miss there, taking that pawn there now on f4. Then we get rook a f1, sliding the rook over, and it is not looking too good for white. So after we get rook a f1, we get knight g6, sliding the knight back. Chess.com gives us an inaccuracy, but honestly, I think it's more than valid. The rook was pinning the pawn to the king, and honestly, you're just kind of creating as many threats as you can. The engine now wants white to push all these pawns down the board to try and just create some kind of counterattack. Phoenix is up a pawn as it currently stands, but that's just kind of how it is. So we do see f4 here. So great move there from Explore Chess in low time control, or excuse me, in a low time situation. We see a5. Knight now slides back to e2. Best move on the board. Well done from Exploring Chess with 17 seconds on his clock. And also, this tournament is a 3-minute blitz game with 2 seconds of added bonus time. We now see a takes on b4. A takes back on b4. Rook a b8. c3. Rook fc8. The knight now slides forward. c5. b5. And this just straight up hangs a pawn. And Phoenix captures that with very little time used. He used 2 seconds. Knight h5. Bring the knight in. Trying to create anything possible he can to try and pull off an unthinkable win here. Rook b3. f5. And now this knight has to move, right? This knight has to move. There's nothing you can do, right? Psych. The pawn's just going to take. Great move from Phoenix. Rook now takes on f5. Rook takes on c3. e6. Pawn's going to take. Nicely done from Phoenix. And from this point on... Actually, oh yeah, so he blunders the knight here. Wait, where was it? Yeah, or sorry. Blunders the knight here. Rook comes in. And it looks like Exploring Chess is honestly just looking for a chance to capitalize. And honestly, wait, so this does make sense here. Okay, so sacking the knight here, and you come down here to check, and now the king is forced to come. Like you could go here. You could go h8. H8 is actually the top engine move. Or no, it's not. F8 is. So F8 is the top engine move here. Or no, it's not. H8's better. Oh, and then you move the knight back. Ah, okay. So yeah, okay, so F8 was played. Now the rook comes down, and Exploring Chess collects this pawn. So now he's only down 1 piece of material, but it's to no avail because these 3 passers are unfreaking stoppable. There's no stopping these pawns here. King d6 now. Rook slides down. d3. Rook d8 check. King slides up. Rook g5 check. King e4. And like I said, this pawn is being protected by the knight here. We now see rook g1 trying to stop that pawn from promoting. And also keep in mind the knight is also covering the square so the king does not have an escape route. Rook takes, and checkmate is delivered with a pawn promoting to a queen on c1. And Phoenix advances to the next round of the Full Strive Chess Tournament. Well done from Phoenix, and GG's to Exploring Chess. So let's go ahead and get into our second game here, guys. And in this game, we watch from Katie's perspective, so we're watching from Yu's perspective in this one. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this on screen for you guys, and this is exactly what went down in this one. So chess.com says you played like a 66.3% accurate game, and Katie played a 78.2% accurate game. One blunder, 700, 1350. All right, go ahead and pull this down real quick. Let's see exactly what went down in this one. So in this game, we see e4 followed by e5, d4. This is a center game. Takes, and this is now the center game accepted. And center game normal variation now. Knight slides forward. You slide your queen over here. You could have probably gone queen e3 here. Also queen c4. All right, that's still a good move. I don't know what I'm talking about. That's still a good move. I just saw it had the check mark instead of the best move thing, but that's still a good move. So we see that, and then we see pawn pushing forward to d6. Now we get knight c3. Good development here from you. Knight f6, and then the knight jumps in. And so here, black has a decision to make. You can take this knight here, which the queen's probably going to take back. Can maybe slide the bishop up here. You can probably go bishop e7 to try and castle, and that also saves this from having to damage the pawn structure. Although you do have your queen here, I guess, too. All right, but Katie vouches to take here. And the e-pawn takes back, and nicely done from you, because now the e-pawn is forcing this knight to have to move now. Brilliant stuff. Although, the knight goes right into a very powerful square. A very, very, very powerful square, because the pawn is covering it, and there's nothing that can get over here to get this knight away. You're going to have to move your queen here, but this pawn is going to be promoting it at least, like, it's going to take at least 2 moves to get there. So we see this, and then now the queen does slide back. Best move on the board from you. Well done. And now the bishop comes out. So we see bishop f4, queen a5 check now played, and I was thinking bishop d2, which is the top engine move. C3 is still a good option to block that. You don't want to go here with your queen because then it takes, and you have double pawns. So good job from you. The pawn does fall off the board, though. And Katie, as it stands, is currently up 1 piece of material. But at what cost? Because she has double pawns. So after this, we see bishop takes on e5. And that is a mistake because after the d-pawn takes, white castles. Honestly, that makes sense to me. Oh, because of so bishop e6 comes in here to bishop e6 comes in here to defend that, and these pawns are going to start storming. So we do see bishop e6 played by Katie. Best move on the board. Well done, Katie. Bishop e5 check now. King slides down. Great move from Katie. If you were to move your king here, or honestly, if you would have gone here to block this, bishop takes, king takes, check. So good job from Katie in that situation, recognizing that she needs to move her king here and lose her right to castle in the process. So after this, we see knight f3, sorry. We see knight f3 followed by e4. And this is a mistake from Katie, according to chess.com, because of knight g5 here. Oh, and d4 works too. And that's the best engine move. Nice. All right, word. You knows what he's doing. So we see a6 after this, attacking the bishop. Bishop now slides back. And then we see pawn pushing to g6 in an effort to get the bishop out, fianchettoed, and create a x-ray vision coming down this diagonal. So the knight now takes the bishop here. F takes back. Rook he1. b5, attacking the bishop. Bishop has to slide all the way back now. Bishop g7. And now the rooks are connected. Anytime, as soon as you can get these rooks connected, very, very powerful, very important. F3, followed by e takes f3. Then we see g takes back on f3. A5, pushing the pawn forward. And this is a mistake because this is a free pawn. This is a straight up free pawn. After Katie pushed this pawn on move, move 22? So why is my thing crashing out? This is a free pawn because the pawn is pinned to the king. But you did not spot this because he was a little bit lower on time and slid the rook up. And now the pawn pushes again, and now this pawn is once again hanging. And honestly, I see the vision. I see exactly what you're trying to do. Trying to create some pressure coming on this pawn. But the rook very quickly slides down for Katie. Katie doing very good on time as well. Props to Katie for playing so quickly. Now the bishop slides up to d3, attacking that rook. Rook slides over to d6. Pawn takes, and now the bishop slides up. And Katie is up one piece of material and currently up in this bout. Rook c8 check. King slides up to d2. We see bishop now takes on b2, and you need to move your king over here to defend that. That would have been the better move. We see the king going up here, down, and then the bishop takes here. King slides up now, and this is crazy. Good, but that was the best move on the board too, sliding the king all the way up to e3. King's going on an adventure. We see d4 now check, king f4, bishop c3, rook g1, d3, and there's no stopping this pawn. There's no stopping this pawn. You will have to sack a piece eventually to stop this pawn if you are able to stop it. Rook e3, rook comes down with check. And Katie delivers checkmate in one move with a discovered checkmate on the king. The king cannot go here because the king's blocking. King can't go here because the pawn's blocking. Can't go here, same thing, king's blocking. Can't go here, pawns. Or here, or here, or here because of the rook and the bishop. And Katie wins a flawless game. Very nicely done. Very nicely done. GG's to you. GG's to Katie. Congrats on Katie moving on to the next round. But we got a couple more games we got to review here, so let's keep it pushing. Let's go ahead and get into that next game. All right, so up next, we have LG and chess leveling. I'm going to go ahead and pull the analysis up on screen. And in this one, LG played an 84.4% accurate game, and his opponent played a 74.2% accurate game. One blunder, LG played like a 1300, his opponent played like a 1050. So let's go ahead and pull this down and see exactly what went down in this one. So in this one we watched from White's perspective, so we're going to watch from Black's perspective. Right? White, black, white. Yeah. So e4 is played by LG. Excuse me. e4 played by LG. We now see c6, the Caro-Kann. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Mind you, the beautiful and amazing Caro-Kann. It is glorious, amazing, the best move in all of chess. Very good structure here from Chess Leveling to start this game. And LG responds with the fantasy variation. This is the most powerful defense against the Caro-Kann, because if this pawn takes, which is exactly what happened in the game, White has a massive, massive center here, and he has the initiative. Whenever I see the fantasy variation, I usually play this. I know it's not, I mean, it is theory still. Now if the pawn takes, you take here, and you're honestly doing just fine. Black has a slight advantage as it stands, but essentially the idea remains the same. You're probably going to move your knight out here if you enchant the bishop, and so on. But instead we see takes, which is still mainline theory, but it gets very tricky very fast. Chess Leveling now pushes the pawn forward, and this is a bad move because you're now blocking your bishop in. Ideally, you probably could have played e5 instead, because after you play e5, takes, you take the queen, king takes back, and you're going to get this pawn right back. It says bishop e6 next, and so on. And I won't go too deep into it, because we still got some games to review. But the pawn pushed forward to e6 now. Knight now moves forward. A better move there would have been to play knight f3, apparently, in an attempt to get this pawn forward, I guess. I don't. Okay. All right. Yeah. But anyways, that move's still fine. You're developing pieces. I still think that's okay. We see c5 now. Pawn takes now, and then Chess Leveling takes the queen now. And if LG takes with the queen, he's going to lose his right to castle. So he very nicely takes it with the knight. Chess.com says this is a bad, not the second best move, but I think this is still a good move. Bishop now takes on c5. Knight now moves forward to f3. Knight c6. And bishop comes in to pin the knight to the king. So now Chess Leveling can probably move his knight here, but he vouches to move the bishop up, and LG takes this knight. You do not need to take this knight here. A better move, you probably could have just... Oh, yeah, you can't castle yet because the bishop's blocking. You probably could have played bishop... Oh, yeah, it was bishop e3. Bishop e3, and then if it takes, you get the knight off that square, and White wins a tempo. So, but he takes, and honestly, I think that's fair. The pawn now pushes to e5. And we see f6, and bishop e3 once again is the best move. You need to go bishop e3 to once again get that knight off that back rank. But the knight moves forward now, and honestly, it makes sense. A developing move. Knight e7 would have been better there. Takes though, and then we see takes, and as it currently stands, Chess Leveling is up one piece of material. So now we see knight f6, followed by castles queenside. King d8, and I believe this right here was a mouse slip. It looked like he was trying to castle this way, which would have been a great move. I do in fact believe this was a mouse slip. Correct? Tell me in the chat, Chess, if this was a mouse slip. But he went King D1, which is obviously a mistake because of a discovered check here. And I looked at this. I don't know how you save this bishop. I have no idea how you save this bishop. Bishop D4. Wow, that makes so much more sense because after takes, you only lose a pawn. Crazy. Okay. Word. But that is not, in fact, what happens in this game. Instead, we see King C7, and that is a blunder because the bishop is going to collect the bishop here on C5, and LG is going to have a big advantage here. We now see Rook 88, and everybody who is in the stream chat, if you are a beginner, I want you to know this. Everybody listen up. If you are a beginner, or if you are playing chess, any chess game, any level, whatever it may be, your goal, if you go down material, is to keep pieces on the board. It is pivotal. Because the only way you can really come back in a chess game is if you can create counter threats. And how do you create counter threats? Having pieces on the board. Very, very important. I'm not going to bash on this too hard taking the rook here because it's honestly not the worst move. You are down a lot, so it honestly didn't really mean much. But in my opinion, I personally feel like you should have played something like I feel like you could have moved the rook over here somewhere. Rook takes. Okay, so Angel says rook takes on d8, but just know that, guys. It says rook he1. Can you go here? Yeah, that move's good too, but ideally you just want to keep pieces on the board. All right, so we see the exchange, and then we see bishop e7 coming in here to attack the rook and the knight. And LG doing a good job. He needs to get pieces off the board, and I actually thought I didn't realize this rook was hanging in the stream at one point, but LG found it very, very quickly, taking the rook. And at this point, he does blunder a bishop here. You need to get the bishop out of there, but honestly, it's to no avail. White is winning here. King slides over. Pawns are pushing. Rook collects a pawn on b7. Pawn takes. King takes. Black trying to desperately try and find a way, but there's no stopping these pawns. There's literally no stopping these pawns. These pawns are going to push. Promoting a queen. Knight slides back to c5. And LG sacks the knight, or sacks the queen here. That's crazy because you're just going to promote again. And Black ran out of time here. Okay, that's what I thought. I thought it was a mouse slip. I genuinely did think that was a mouse slip. Cool. Well, that is game 3. LG won a very, very chaotic game in that one. So GG's to you two. LG moved on to the next round. And now let's get into our 4th game. All right, so for this 4th game, we have Generation and Supra. So it went white, black, white, black. So we're viewing this from White's perspective in this one. So let's go ahead and pull this up here real fast for everybody to see. All right, and so Generation played a 68.8% accurate game. Super played a 62.6% accurate game. And Super was the reigning champion, by the way, too. 950 against 650. Super had 3 blunders. So let's go and look at exactly what went down in this one. So to start this game off, we see d4 on the board, followed by d5, c4, e5, d takes e5, d4. This is the Queen's Gambit declined Alabin counter gambit. And this line gets very tricky very fast. Yes, White is winning as it currently stands, but there are so many things you have to worry about. This move literally just reminds me of the Elephant Gambit too. Elephant Gambit's really tricky, and then the Alabin counter gambit's really tricky too. We see knight of 3 now. Good move from Generation. We see bishop c5, and a better move here for Super would have been to play knight c6 probably. But honestly, I still think that's fine, just like I'm considered a slight inaccuracy. And now the pawn pushes up in an effort to fianchetto. So nicely done here from Generation. Also, she didn't take this pawn here because Black would have won a little bit of tempo here. And tempo is part of the game too, fun fact, if you didn't know that. Tempo, by the way, and those of you who don't know, tempo is where you move a piece and your opponent takes a piece, either takes a piece back and gets a knight into the game or a piece forward, essentially, into the attack. And then vice versa, if you move a piece forward and say you like checked a king with a queen or something and they pushed a pawn up, they push that pawn up, that pawn wins a tempo, the queen has to go back now. Hopefully that makes sense. So anyways, bishop g2, we now see the pawn taking here, and the knight takes back here. And now the knight is striking, and it looks very, very dangerous. So we see queen f6 now. A5 would have been better. Honestly, I don't know who finds a5. And then the knight comes here. And this just straight up hangs a knight. And Supra finds it. And Supra is up 2 pieces of material. But Generation has this right here. Bishop takes on b7. And she doesn't find it on the first one. And I actually absolutely went bananas here. Absolutely went bananas here. She castles here. We now see knight e7 played. You need to play knight c6 here, or c6. Or pawn c6. We see the knight going here, and the bishop falls back again. The bishop had to go all the way back to back here, right? What just happened? Oh my word, what just happened? Yeah, the bishop had to go all the way back here. But now Generation spots this, and it's still very even. It's still very even. Yes, she's going to win a rook, but the bishop now takes, and now this rook's under attack. And in this spot, Generation just needs to take the rook. But instead, she slides her rook over. And the reason why is because this rook's not going anywhere. There's no stopping this rook from being taken. And you can't get the bishop over here, because the bishop's just going to take it, or the king. Probably the king. After this, we see knight bc6. Also, why are the moves not showing up anymore? There we go. All right, sorry about that, guys. Knight bc6. Then we see bishop now taking the rook. So you have to take the rook now because the rook can actually move now. We see castles from black, and then the bishop comes back down and takes the knight here. A better move would have, it says king h2 apparently, but I don't know who in the right mind's finding that. Queen c6 now here, and now a checkmate is brewing here. Apparently queen takes on f2 is better. Queen takes here, and now the king has to go here. The queen can't go here still because the bishop's here. Honestly, probably the... Wait, no, it's black's move. Oh, you just take the bishop. Jeez. Okay. But that is not spotted. Instead, we see queen takes here. And now the pawn pushes. Well done from Generation. And Supra is... Wait. Supra was +8 at one point. Insane, bro. Insane. Pawn now pushes here to f3. We see d3, discovered check. King now slides up. Pawn takes. Queen takes. And now that knight is under fire. It's still covered by the bishop, though. And Supra completely and utterly blunders the game in one move because the queen takes on e6 with check. If the queen takes back, which is what happens, the rook's just going to take the queen right back. And Supra, after having a massive advantage, looks like he's going to lose this one. Takes. Knight slides over. Good job from Generation. Get that rook over to defend that bishop. We see check. Takes. And once again, you want to keep material on the board. Rook check here on e8. King slides over to f2. Bishop check. But that blunders the bishop. Rook d8 now. And at this point, Generation's up 8 pieces of material. Does blunder the knight there. I'm going to go ahead and speed through this real quick. Wait, actually right here. There's a mate in 7 here. Because of rook a7 check. King goes here. Here. How do you stop this? Rook e2 check. King goes here. I don't know. But yeah, apparently there's a checkmate there. The king slides over there. I'm going to go ahead and speed run through this real quick. And it looked like for a split second Generation could fumble this game. But he very calmly delivers checkmate with rook to e6 on move 60 and moves on to the next round of the Full Strive Chess Tournament. Very valiant effort from Supra, but to no avail. This move right here, I'm pretty sure he was low on time there too. Yeah, he had 30 seconds on his clock. That is the joys of playing these tournaments, and that is the joys of playing in a faster time control. Any other move in the game is still being won here. Bishop d7 would have been better. Brutal. But at the end of the day, it is Generation who moves on to the next round. And let's go ahead and get right into our fifth game of this review. All right, so now we see Katie and Phoenix. And let's go ahead and pull this up here real fast. Katie played an 80.6% accurate game, and Phoenix played an 81.5. 1,500 to 1,450. No blunders. And this game was absolute madness. Let's get right into it. So, game opens up with e4, and we see c6, a Caro-Kann from Phoenix. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. d4 now played, d5, e5, and now we have an advanced variation Caro-Kann. Ideally, you always bring your bishop out here. But instead, Phoenix pushes the pawn here, which is also a line. Knight now moves forward to f3. We see bishop coming down to g4 to pin the knight to the queen. You probably could have just played... I usually would play something like this, probably. You can also take here now, but that's tricky too, because then after this pushes, this is going to be under attack too. But sliding the bishop up there, that's fair. Now the pawn pushes, takes, and we see a push here on the e file from the pawn. Then we see c4. Jeez, sorry. What is that noise? All right. Push here, and now everything's like just absolutely and utterly chaotic. Everything is very, very chaotic here. So after c4, we see knight e7, which is fair. The pawn now takes here. Also, I feel like I should be watching from Phoenix's. I'm going to watch from Black's perspective in the next one. Knight now takes. Pawn takes here on c5. Bishop takes back, and then we see bishop takes the knight here. Takes, 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 takes. And this is tricky now, too, for Black, because you have an isolated pawn here. There's no pawns on either files to protect it in any sort of way. We now see knight c3, and now the pawn pushes. That is a inaccuracy. I honestly feel like that's still fine, though. Much to castle queenside, which is kind of crazy. But the knight now moves in here. And honestly, engine says king d7, but you can just castle here. And that's what Phoenix does. Yeah, that's what Phoenix does. Knight now moves forward, and then the bishop takes the knight, which is a miss, apparently. The pawn takes back. Rook checks. Now the rook slides over, and you get the bishop over here to defend that pawn. So good stuff here from Katie, deadlocked here on move 18. We now see knight a5, bringing the knight over. Rook slides over here to stop the knight from getting to the square. Pawn now pushes. Then we see rook getting all the way up here. A very, very, very tough threat here, having a rook on the 7th rank of your opponent. We now see rook e2, rook e1, takes, takes. And this pawn can't push, by the way, because obviously the queen or the bishop or the king will take. Now see a6. And honestly, you could probably move your bishop all the way down here. Or can you? There's no stopping this pawn. There's literally no stopping this pawn. Because if the knight goes here, you go here, and the rook can't move. You probably play something like this. If takes, takes. And you just go here. And the knight's going to have to move. So the knight goes here. Promote. Take, take. And then white is just completely and utterly winning in this spot. So we see b5 here, and then the rook comes up here. See knight c6 now? And white takes the rook. Only move there from Black now. And Katie needed to move her bishop here. She still has time, though. We got king d2. And Katie finds a very, very good move. If she goes here... That's actually bad because now the king can get out. But she very coolly and calmly brings the bishop to d6. And now the king can no longer get over here. King g8 now. And once again, this knight's going to fall off the board. King now takes a pawn here on d3. Pawn pushes now. And now the bishop comes up to attack the knight. Knight slides over. And Katie needed to promote this pawn. She needed to promote this pawn. And you also cannot take this because this is a promotion. And the knight can no longer take. Oops. Knight can no longer take. Knight e5 check. And Phoenix takes the pawn. Katie still has a slight advantage as it stands. But then she pushes the pawn to a4. The better move here would have been to play king b4 and never to get over here and try and stop these pawns. And you're winning here because the kings are all the way over here and Black's king's all the way over here. So let's say, okay, so let's say the king comes over here and knight comes over here, here. So the king comes down here. Oh wait, that's a blunder. Why is that a blunder? Oh, because of fork. But let's say hypothetically like that happens. You just move the bishop down. Check. Yeah, be careful here. C5. And yeah, essentially you're going to get your pieces over here to collect these pawns, and these pawns are going to start pushing, and the list goes on and on. But we see A4 played here, and then B takes on A4, B takes back on A4, King F7, Bishop B4, Knight B6, pawn pushes now to A5, Knight now slides back here. And I'm going to go ahead and speed run through this, and Phoenix comes back from a massive deficit here, a massive, massive deficit. G4 now played, pawn pushes forward now. You need to take here. Now you need to play H6. Takes, pawn pushes. Bishop now slides back. And in this endgame right here, I believe it is because... Why is this winning here? See, King D6... No. After King D6, Bishop B4 check. If the king goes back here, Bishop A3. And you prevent the king from getting back here, because if this knight ever moves, because it's covering these squares, the king's going to get in here. And if the king moves, if the king goes here, you're going to go right here. And you're going to infiltrate and get these pawns. That is why. But where was I? Hang on. Yeah, so the bishop comes all the way back here, and the king slides over. Nicely done. And this is bad now, too, because of, once again, Bishop A3, stopping the king from getting back over here. But we see Bishop E7. And the move to win here was Knight B8, apparently. We see King B5 instead. And Kay need to move her king up to D5. Knight now slides forward. And the engine is just absolutely on another level right now. But instead of taking the knight there, the king needed to take here. Because anytime this pawn starts pushing, so this is a little bit longer. If the king takes here, the knight gets out of the way. You now slide your king up, and if this pawn pushes, you just straight up sack. If the king takes, now your king's over here. So let me just run it through real quick. So the king takes here. Let's say the knight comes up here. You slide the king up here. If this pawn pushes, you sack. King's going to take. You push. Maybe not. Oh no, you take this pawn here. Yeah, you take that pawn there. And then you go King G6. If they slide the king over, because like you can't get your knight over here now. Say they go here. Can't go there because the king's just going to take. And the list goes on and on and on there. So just a little note on an endgame there for you guys. But we do see takes. And the reason why this is a draw is because these pawns are off to the races. But although white has a pawn advantage, this queen can keep checking the king here. And with 35 seconds on Phoenix's clock, we just see a bunch, and I mean a bunch. Also, Phoenix does eventually come up here to check the king and get the pawn, so nicely done there by Phoenix. We see a bunch of checks. I think there was a draw offered here somewhere. But at the end of the day, we conclude in a draw. And we are heading to a 2-minute bullet tiebreaker. And we are going to review this game next. So let's get right into that. All right, so for this 2-minute bullet tiebreaker, I thought Phoenix had the black pieces in this one. Yeah, we're going to watch from Phoenix's perspective here. Go ahead and pull this up real quick for you guys. And this game was actually kind of crazy. Phoenix played an 85.1% accurate game. Kay played a 76.2. 1600 to 1250. Interesting. All right, so this game opens up with e4, e5, knight c3, knight c6, bishop c4. And this is the Vienna game, Max Lang defense. Bishop c5, queen g4. That's actually a crazy move. I thought this move was surely bad. But low-key, you're threatening here. And the bishop is no longer back here to fianchetto. But we see that instead. And Phoenix just straight up takes the pawn, and now there's no saving this rook. This rook is dead. Dead to rights. Or is it? Because the queen slides up. Good move there from Katie. Queen takes, knight takes. And the reason why white is winning here is because of this. After all the dust is settled, white is up 2 pieces of material. And in this spot, black is now threatening a fork. So white can either slide the bishop all the way down or move the king over to d1. And white vouches to slide the bishop down to b3. We now see a pawn push, and then the pawn pushes here to get rid of the knight. And the knight does take the pawn here. Nicely done. And the phoenix develops here. This, I believe, is a free pawn here. Yeah, it is. Free pawn here on b3. But Katie slides the bishop back now. And black cannot take this pawn here now, because if you take, king's gonna, like, there's nothing stopping this. You're gonna lose 2 rooks. So black cannot take that pawn there. We now see castles, and then white castles. Instead of castling, white needed to just take this pawn, because after the rook takes. If the rook comes over here, you just push this pawn, and you have a big, fat chain. And then you castle. But instead we see takes, rook takes, and we see the pawn striking forward. Pawn takes now, pawn takes back, pawn takes on d4, pawn takes back on d4. It wants you to play bishop c4 here. Bishop c4. Knight takes on d4. Sorry. And then you get a knight in the game and you're threatening a bunch of, oops, not there, a bunch of stuff. So, all right, so but instead we see the pawn taking back, which honestly, it's bullet. You're not going to play perfect chess. Bishop g4 now played in an effort to attack that knight. We now see the bishop sliding up. Nicely done from Phoenix. Get the bishop off the starting square. Prevent the rook from getting down here, I guess, for eventual threats. We see takes. Pawn now pushes here to f6. Rook slides over to b1. Pawn pushes. Nice job by Katie. And Phoenix is up 1 piece of material as it stands. The pawn now pushes forward here. Rook slides over to g8. King f3. And this rook is completely blocking this file here now as well. h5. Pawn now pushes. Now the bishop's going to have to move. Or is it? The pawn can take first. Oh, okay, that makes sense. And white just completely and utterly is in the driver's seat. Because these pawns, like, yes, Katie has 1 pass pawn, but anytime this pawn moves, this pawn's going to fall off the board. And honestly, Phoenix could just start pushing p here. And this rook isn't really doing much. We see the bishop now slide up to f4. Pawn now pushes forward to h4. And we see Phoenix sacking a pawn here. Katie takes the pawn, but Phoenix gets the pawn right back here. So it was a discovered attack here. Yeah, so king takes on e6 was best. Bishop takes back on e7. Wait. How is that so bad? What was the better move here? Oh, rook c1. Wait. Rook c1. Bishop comes back here. Now you check. No, you still don't check. Oh, d5 and then check. Ah, okay. But yeah, so slide the bishop up. Pawn now pushes here to h4. You see the exchange we just looked at. Rook f8 check. And you need to go d5 apparently? Wait, not d5. d3. So king d5. Interesting. Huh. All right. But we see the pawn pushing now by Katie to h3. Rook now collects that pawn. Endgames are tricky. Make sure you guys study your endgames. Rook slides all the way down here. This pawn's going to get collected. And with 3 passers, nothing stopping them. And also nice job there from Phoenix getting the rooks off the board, because the rook's now pinned to the king. Takes. King slides down to d7. Bishop slides back. King e6. King slides over to e3. And at this point, Phoenix, all he has to do is just push p and win the game. Also, great job from Phoenix too. You cannot push this pawn because the bishop would take. But you'd still be winning, but still. Okay, now sacks the bishop here. And Phoenix does an excellent job. You probably could have just started pushing the f and the h pawn here. Because if you go here, you're just going to go here. And if here, you play h5. And if here, f6. Here, f7, f8, h6, and then the king has to go back. h7, yeah. But still, fine. You're still going to win. Here, and Chess.com says that's a mistake. That's fine. That move is fine. Gets a queen on the board here. Also, Phoenix had a faster way to go about this. After here, if takes, you go down here.
King's gonna have to go back, and then you have checkmate. But when you move the queen off here, I mean, you had plenty of time. But the king comes back here. We see check. King slides over here now. And Phoenix delivers checkmate in the bullet tiebreaker to move on to the championship match. A valiant effort from Katie, but unfortunately she does fall to Phoenix. All right, so that was our 6th game. Let's go ahead and get into the 7th game. All right, so for our 7th game, we actually have a brilliant move played here in this one, played by LG. LG played a 71.1% accurate game, and his opponent played a 80.9% accurate game. LG played like a 1,000, and his opponent played like a 1,500. There were 2 blunders played by LG and 1 by his opponent, Generation. So let's get right into exactly what went wrong with this one for one of these players and what went right. We're watching from Black's perspective. We see e4, and LG plays e5. Or wait, whoa. LG plays e4. Generation responds with e5. We see knight f3, knight c6, bishop e5. Bring the bishop in to attack the knight and create threats. Nicely done. Good job getting that bishop off the starting square too. Knight f6, good development. Knight c3, bishop c5, takes. And I would have rather taken with this pawn probably, because then you free the queen up to have this file. Although that does hang a pawn there too. But honestly, I think that's still okay, taking with that pawn. Now the pawn pushes. And yeah, you had a free pawn here. Note there. Pawn pushes now. Good job by Generation defending that pawn. And then LG brings the bishop out to g5. We see castles, h6, attacking the bishop. Bishop now slides back to h4. Bishop e6. We see a3 played by LG. a5. I honestly feel like that was just a move to kind of just keep moves playing. Queen d2. And g5. And this right here is a blunder for one reason and one reason only. And it is not very easy to find. Now, if you take with the bishop here, so the pawn takes, you could honestly probably, you take with the knight here, and now black is winning. Because black is up a piece of material here. And you're going to be able to get the knight over here. If the knight takes, like the queen cannot come over here to check because the queen's still covering here. And vice versa. However, LG finds the best move, which is sacking the knight on g5. Straight up sacking the knight. And this is a brilliant move because after the pawn takes, you take here with the queen with check. And the king can only go here or here. And after this move is played... Oh, wait. Where was I? Oh, wait, no. That wasn't even what happened. We saw knight h7 first. And then we see LG taking the bishop here on e6. Queen takes on h4. And LG gets the rook. I don't know why for some reason I thought he'd take the bishop here, but literally there's a free rook. So takes. Pawn pushes forward now to b4. Pawn takes. And you need to take the rook here. Nicely done here from Generation. Rook takes back, and then pawn takes. And so LG needs to be very, very careful. There's back rank threats here. Rook now comes down. And this move is done, said, match. Because LG could have moved can move his queen to take on g6, and the only move to save this position here is to now go queen to g7. Because this is all being threatened. And you also don't have a back rank here because the knight's still covering. So let's say the top moves were played here. After here, queen takes, and LG's just up 3 pieces of material. After 92, getting out from under that attack, bishop d2, knight g3, and essentially you get the knight over here, plan it, and essentially just win the game. But instead we see rook b8. And this blunders because after the bishop takes here, you cannot take with this queen. Because after you take with this queen, check, and the king's out of spaces. And your only move is to come back here to stop checkmate in one move, and the queen's going to take with checkmate. So the only move you could have played here, believe you could sack the rook here. That salvages things, but let's say queen c1. After queen c1, bishop d4. And yeah, and the threats are still coming. And generation's up. Crazy. But LG takes this queen, or excuse me, uses the queen to take the piece. And generation brings the queen up, and in this position, LG resigns. Very, very, very devastating for LG. LG had a very big advantage there. One move is all it takes, though. One single move is all it takes to turn this game on its head. GG's. All right, and then Generation would go on to the final round to face off against Phoenix, and so let's go ahead and pull that game up next. All right. So in this game, okay, so we're gonna watch from Phoenix's perspective. All right, so in this game, let's go ahead and pull this up here real quick. Phoenix played an 85.4% accurate game. To Generation 62.9. He played like a 1750, and his opponent played like a 650. Let's take a peek at what exactly went down here. So the game opens up here with e4, followed by e5, knight c3, knight f6, f4, d5, f takes on e5, knight takes on e5. This is a Vienna game main line. And this gets very tricky very fast, because if the knight were to take here, pawn takes, and you got two pawns like literally going opposite directions. So it gets tricky here pretty fast. But instead we see queen f3, which is the Paulson attack. Good study, good research here from Phoenix so far. Also, after this move, if takes. Apparently that's bad for white. Or no, it's good. How is that not? Huh. All right. Well, that's actually what happens in the game. D takes back now. Queen's going to take back here on e4. Then we see bishop e7. Knight now moves forward to f3. Castles here for black. We now see d4. Good move from Phoenix, getting the pawn off the starting square and freeing up this bishop to attack. And now eventually you're going to be pushing these pawns forward. And the attack is going to be brutal. Queen now slides forward to d7. We see bishop d3. Pawn now pushes here to g6. The white castle's kingside here. Then we see rook e8. Bishop now jumps in here, and just kind of doesn't like that move because it thinks c3 is a little bit better. Oh, furthering the defense of this pawn. Okay. But honestly, I think that's still fine. Now the pawn pushes forward, and this is bad for a couple of reasons. One of them being en passant. Another one being bishop c4 check. And queen e3 is another move you can play, but that's not honestly going to do anything. But Phoenix actually finds one of the top moves, which is playing en passant. The craziest and most rare move in all of chess. Actually, no, checkmating queenside is rarest move. Now the queen slides over. Bishop now takes the pawn here on d4. And Phoenix takes with the knight. And this is bad, because the queen's going to take. With check. Queen takes back, knight takes. And we are deadlocked. White does have a slight advantage as it currently stands. But it will be to no... Actually, no, it will be to an avail. I was going to say to no avail, but... After this move is played, we see rook a b1. Bishop e6 in an effort to stop this check. Rook b e1. And the bishop takes the pawn here. After this, we see rook takes on e8. Rook takes back on e8. b3. And this bishop's trapped. Bishop's trapped. You could sack here. Yes, you're going to get material back. But after this is played, check. And you're going to lose this knight. And you also have mate in 6. That's actually what happens. And Generation actually takes with the knight in an effort to do that. But in the process of that happening, the bishop now slides up to c4. And Generation blocks with the rook. The only move that does not create checkmate is bringing the king over here. But checkmate will be brewing in just a couple more moves. Blocking with the rook. Bishop's going to take this rook, and the king has one move. The king can only go here, and after the king goes here, Phoenix delivers checkmate on f8 with the rook on move 23. Because the king cannot go here because of the bishop, king cannot go here because of the bishop and the rook. And Phoenix wins the full Strive chess tournament. Very well fought from all of these players, and I gotta give my credit where credit is due. Everybody played very valiantly, and I gotta respect every single one of you guys who played here today. But with that being said, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like, comment, and tell me what you thought of these games. Do you think you could have played better? I honestly want to find out. You should join our Discord server where we host our chess tournaments. The link is going to be in the description down below, and all you gotta do is click that link, hop in, boom. We have chess tournaments, daily checkmates, which is like puzzles but checkmates, and a bunch of other awesome, cool stuff that I think you will truly, truly, really enjoy. If you are also, and also if you are a creator, you might also really enjoy it. We're looking to add some more creators on, and we got some fun stuff coming for those who are chess creators in the niche. So, once again, guys, thank you all so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe, and also check out this video. This video is really fun to make too. I think you'll really enjoy it as well. So, with that being said, guys, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Peace. Alright, sorry, I had to record YouTube outro. Yeah, I know you'll play better next time. GG's, bro. GG's. A valiant effort. A valiant, valiant effort. But, alright, homies. Well, I gotta go ahead and start editing all these tournament videos. So, GG's to you all. Thank you all so much for coming here to the YouTube live stream to watch your game. And I'm gonna say this one final time, guys. Thank you all so much for playing. Thank you all so much for watching. And I hope you all, every single one of you, has a great rest of your day, and I will see you all in the Discord server. If Phoenix is in here, Phoenix, I'll get you your payment here in a second, and I also need you to send me a picture for the Wall of Fame channel. So, GG's, guys.